What's up, nerds? It's Mr. Storm, and today we're going to talk about how to publish websites to the intranet or internet. Sorry, not intranet, internet. There is a difference, by the way. Intranet is usually a contained network within a building or a local area, and an internet is the whole thing. Yeah. Anyway, fun fact. So let's talk about publishing websites to the internet. Now, I have to say that this is not my slideshow. This is a slideshow that I got from another teacher here in Utah who teaches the same class, and he gave this to me, and he was like, "Hey, this is a slideshow I use, and it's pretty good." And I'm like, I read it, and I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty awesome." So we're going to use this. So if the format looks a little different from the other things that you've seen in this class, it's because it's his stuff and not mine. But it's good enough. I didn't feel like I needed to write a new lesson. All right, so posting live content. So far, all of our files that we've created in this class have been on our local computers. We haven't published any of our websites to the internet. No one's able to actually go look at your website live. Because it's a complicated process to get your files on the internet and actually have a real live website. We're going to talk about that process today. So, in order to publish our site to the live internet, we need to do several things. First of all, we need to have a registered domain name, such as mydomain.com or utahmilitaryacademy.org or rectanglepress.com. You need to actually have a domain name in order to post, in order to have your website on the World Wide Web. You also need to pay for server access. So you need to get a web hosting plan through a hosting provider and pay them for access to their server. Pay them essentially for space on their server so that you can put your files there, and they'll maintain them and then make sure that your files stay up. And then you need a software program so that you can transfer files back and forth between your computer and the web server on the far end. Again, we're not really going to publish any of our websites in this class. It's going to cost money, and I don't want you guys really to be spending money on web development or on this class. But server access is actually not that bad. It's pretty cheap. We're going to talk about some costs and stuff like that. I just want you guys to be aware of the process and how it actually works. So let's talk about domain names first. So you can anyone can buy a domain name. They're easy to get. It's a really straightforward process, and they're pretty cheap. So to register and maintain a domain name, it's about $10 to $12 a year. It's pretty cheap. And you need to renew that domain name license every year, or you can buy a package where you buy it for 2 or 3 years at a time. But every time that expires, you need to renew that. If you forget to re-register your domain name, someone can swoop in and buy it out from underneath of you. It's a sad day. Many domain extensions are available, but the most common ones are .com, .net, .us. There's .gov, .mil, .edu. Those domain name extensions are a part of the domain name, right? So you can have a situation where a funny example is whitehouse.gov is the domain name for the White House, right? Whitehouse.com, however, is a website that you don't want to go to. All right, let's just say it's adult, and that caused some funny problems when people are trying to get to the White House website and they typed in .com instead of .gov, and they got to a website that was inappropriate and horrible. And please don't go look at that website. I think it's down anyway. But anyway, you want to make sure that your domain extensions are what you want them to be. A common practice is if, let's say, you start a new business and you want to make sure you own all the domain names for that business, the .com, the .net, the .us, the .whatever, the .org. You just buy all the domain name extensions with that domain name, and you have them all route to one website. Okay. So once you've settled on a domain, a unique domain, because you cannot have two domain names that are the same. Once you've settled on a new domain, you need to go out and pay for it using a domain registrar. And there are thousands of these registrars out there, but GoDaddy is probably the biggest one. You can go to godaddy.com. You can look for your domain name. If anyone is using it, you can't buy it. If it's available, you can buy it, and it's usually a couple bucks. It's pretty cheap. Then you need to choose a web hosting plan. So you need to find a web provider that will sell you space on their server so you can put your files there, and they will maintain them for a monthly fee. There are thousands of options, but again, GoDaddy is probably the biggest one in the market. It's the one most people use. They're pretty cheap. So you can do a basic website with a free domain name for like $4 a month through GoDaddy. So it's pretty good stuff. You can do yearly payment plans, so you can just pay up front for a whole year, or you can do multiple years and save yourself a little bit of money. But once you have a web hosting plan and a domain name, then you can configure your domain name to point to that web host. If you do both things in one service, like say if you use GoDaddy, they'll usually do that for you. And then you can interface with their web server to put your files on there, and then your website will go live. So what you need to do is you need to use what's called file transfer protocol software. Now, this used to be the main thing. The servers used to only be able to interact with you using file transfer protocol software like FileZilla. But now you actually don't really need file transfer protocol software, but it's good to know what it is and how it works. Essentially what it is it's a piece of software that lets you put your files in the software, and then it will convert it properly and send it to your web server. Now, server hosting platforms usually will just allow you to upload files directly to their website, and then they'll put it in the right place. So they kind of have their own FTP file server protocol software in the web page itself. But before, we used to have to use programs that looked like this. It's pretty simple. You just add your files to it and automatically transfers it over to the server or to the web host. So good stuff. It's a pretty straightforward process. It's really, really easy. Now, there is a way for you to use file transfer protocol software to build your own web server and allow those files to be accessed by anyone, and you maintain your own web server so you don't have to pay for offsite hosting. But people don't really use that as often these days, because your computer, your server, whatever server you have hosting those files, needs to be on all the time. And you are responsible for the security and the maintenance and all that on the hardware side. So if that's something you want to do for fun, and it's not a website that utilizes a lot of traffic, there are plenty of tutorials out there that teach you how to do that. For most people, you're just going to use a web host and pay them your $8 a month, and then they'll keep your website up, and they deal with any maintenance issues or things like that. But that's the process. It's a very basic process, very simple. It's made very easy these days with everybody needing a website. I'm sure by the time you watch this video, there's going to be a new way to do it that's even simpler. If you take my advanced web design class, we're going to use a modified version of this, where we use our Google Drive as a file server, and we post our websites live to the internet. But we don't have a unique domain name. But there are a lot of ways to get your websites out there. This is just the traditional way people normally use. All right. So now you know the process. Now you're going to do the assignment, which is this. I'm going to have you build a infographic, which is fun and awesome and pretty much a good time. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up this document, the publishing websites document, And it's going to tell you to click this link, sign in with your UMA Gmail account, and then you're going to create an engaging infographic that details the steps of publishing a website, including tips to make the process go smoothly. You're going to pull this information from my materials or websites you find online. Make sure you include your sources, the sources of your information, on the bottom of your infographic because you don't want to plagiarize. So let's take a look at Canva and see what that does and see how it looks. So when you go to Canva, you're going to want to sign in with your UMA Gmail account. I already have signed in, so it automatically takes me there. But when you sign in, you can create a design from these templates. We're doing an infographic, so just go ahead and select the infographic template, and it'll bring up this workspace. Now over here you have your layouts. One thing you want to pay attention to is down here in the bottom corner of each layout, it'll have a button that says free. You want to make sure that you're using a free template, because if you scroll down enough, you'll be able to see ones that are not free eventually. Yeah. So like right here, this isn't free. It has a $, which means I would have to pay to use this template for my infographic. Okay, I don't want you guys paying for anything. So just pick an infographic template that looks good, that is free. All you have to do is click on it, and then you can zoom in on your infographic, and you can just start changing stuff, right? So I can change this, web publishing. I can change it, make it whatever I want. I can, make the text box bigger so that all my stuff is on the same line. I can change, move around the elements on the page. I can add new items to it. I go over here to elements. I can look at photos, frames for pictures. I can do everything. There's so much stuff in here. Oh gosh, I can do shapes or lines or illustrations. I can go up here and search. So, web design, and then it'll pop up things. Now again, these elements will pop up, or when you search, it'll pop up things that you have to pay for, but it'll also pop up free stuff. So make sure you're paying attention to that as well, so you're not grabbing anything that is a paid item. But little web for web design, why not? And with most of these elements, when you click on them, you can actually go up here and change the color so that it matches your color scheme. I want you to have fun with it, right? This is a creative assignment, so make sure you do, you pay attention to it and you try to make it look as good as you possibly can, okay? I want to arrange that. I'll push that to the back so it's behind my text. Keep going. There you go. Oh yeah, that looks nice. But anyway, play around with it, have fun, build your infographic. And then what I want you to do is when you're done, you're going to click download. You're going to download it as a PNG, and it'll save your design. And then when your design is finished, it'll download. And then you can go take a look at it. Oh, mine's over here. Oh, hold on. So it's right here. You can open it up, and there's your infographic that you've built. Okay, make sure that these are filled with good information. Your infographic is going to detail the steps of publishing a website. So this is going to be a very quick, where'd I go? Yeah, this is going to be a very quick step-by-step instructional manual on how to publish a website to the internet. So the design is up to you. The content is up to you. Please write everything in your own words. Don't forget at the bottom to put your sources, information from, www.mrstormisawesome.com, right? Make sure you put your source down at the bottom so you're not plagiarizing. Okay, and when you've downloaded it, you can upload it to Google Classroom, and you are done. Alrighty. Thank you for paying attention, and I will see you next time.